how does BGI differ from like also and keep in mind I'm coming at this from I don't know a whole lot about chiropractic medicine,
Yeah,
so like
definitely.
how does BGI differ from like average Joe chiropractor down the street? Like, I mean, how is the practice different? Like, how would I differentiate why one would be better for me than the other?
Okay. So that it's a very dense question.
Yeah.
But so BGI, it looks at the volumes of the body, and so it looks at the body more as a whole and as a volume. And with being trained in BGI, they really teach you to be able to feel the body. So that means, are you okay? So say your hands are drawn somewhere, and it's like, okay, why am I drawn here? What is it? Is it a vertebra? Is it muscle? Is it connective tissue? Is it from an organ? Is it and then how does it feel? Is it squishy? Is it dense? What is it from? So they teach you to feel and to be able to analyze and figure out where it's coming from. So if I'm drawn somewhere, then I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? Oh, the tension, it's going deeper, it's going down into their abdomen. Oh, I wonder if they're having stomach issues or intestinal issues. So then you kind of ask that, and they're like, oh, no. But and so you're led there, and then so you address where you're led to, and then so by releasing the tension at the abdomen, that will release tension that I was first led to.
Hmm.
And they teach you kind of to feel, is this from a chemical imbalance? Like, are they really inflamed? Maybe they're eating something they're allergic to. Maybe they're living in a toxic environment. Or is it more just structural? Maybe they fell. So it really teaches you to feel and to learn how to trace the tension from its source and analyze it to see where it's coming from and how it got there.
Okay, so like say a non BGI practitioner, like obviously it's hard to speak for them since that's not what you are, but from the best knowledge that you have, like how would they approach, a client, say the same client,
Mm-hmm.
similar situation, do you have any idea how they would approach it?
Yeah. So I think over time, it just becomes natural for people to develop a sense or I mean, if you're curious and have that curiosity, it's natural to develop that. Um, but uh, in a sense, so there's so many different types of chiropractic. There's so many, um, but it's common for to see like the the surface and to just go for the surface rather than to trace it and release its entirety rather than just surface level. I can't speak for all chiropractors because I think that chiropractic in itself is amazingly healing.
Hmm.
This is just my flavor of chiropractic.
Right.
Um, and so I mean, if there's a sense of connection that you get with BGI, like a sense of being seen and understood that I don't know. I think uh, that's what I've noticed with it, anyways. But there's and it also depends on the chiropractor. It because chiropractic in itself is healing. This is just this is a version of it that I find to be more complete.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so here's something another thing I'm kind of curious about, and again, this comes from a place of like I love to play devil's advocate and kind of push people's buttons a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kind of give a little bit of backstory. It makes me kind of think about this question is prompted by thinking about a math professor I had. So one of my undergraduate majors was in mathematics, and this lady was a very devout Mormon, very intelligent, but I always kind of had an issue in the sense that I was like, I didn't understand how she could both be this very logical, highly thought out mathematician and also have faith. Now, that being said, I'm older and have a broader view of the world than I did at that point in time. But with BGI, you kind of talked about, and feel free to correct me at any point in
Mm-hmm.
time, um, how, thoughts and emotions and experiences all can be, I'll say traumatic, that I don't want to put words in your mouth, and affect the body, and that those things can be adjusted or released. How do you navigate that kind of integration of the whole body thought, where we're talking about mind and body, emotions and experience all together, and also stay away from pseudoscience? Because there's plenty of things that like sound good
Mm-hmm.
but aren't necessarily valid. So like, how do you walk that line?
Yeah, for sure. And I think so. Pseudoscience, as in what would be another example of?
So I like to. So there's trying to remember the organization's name. So it's Gwyneth Paltrow's organization Goop. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll sell. I don't know specifically if she'll sell like stickers that get rid of toxins, and those
Mm-hmm.
are just
Oh yeah, yeah,
eccentric,
I understand.
ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
so that's like it's pseudoscience, or it's like it sounds like science, but there's no research. There's no, it feels good to people. It kind of preys on this idea that they have a problem and you have a solution and here it is, and then she's a big star, so then you also have the effect of a celebrity endorsing something, so
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's maybe not as critical won't accept that. So I kind of see like, although I may personally you know be interested in and agree with like a mind body concept, there are
Mm-hmm.
some people that are very much divided, which I'm sure you're aware. They're like, science is science. Like, we only deal with exactly what we can measure.
Yeah.
And then obviously BGI is, like I said, more holistic than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm just curious how do you deal with the people that are like, well, we can't measure that, so it's not real. Like, how do you do that without getting into the realm of like toxin removing stickers, which is unfortunately not as far away as we wish it was.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't really there at the seminars they do talk a lot about the science behind it. It goes more into quantum physics
Mm.
and that sort of science. Um, and I don't know, Bruce Lipton, he has done a lot of research on the science of your belief system and things like that, um, and also going into the more deeper into the science of BGI. I
Mm.
haven't spent a whole lot of time learning about the science because
Mm.
I'm more of a I have to feel it
Yeah.
and experience it. Uh, but it is there. I haven't encountered an individual who specifically requested for the science behind it, but I should.
Yeah, that's okay. Like I said, it's in some essence unfair to ask you to defend an entire field when you're still relatively new. But I mean, I'm here just digging for
Oh,
answers because I don't know anything about anything.
but
So,
I mean, chiropractic in general, there's research on the rise. There's not a whole lot because it's really hard to make objective measures with
mhm,
chiropractic because there's so many variables that are different.
mhm,
Um, but there are areas of the brain uh, that are activated with adjustments,
mhm.
and the research is out there. It's just a little harder to come by.
Okay. Do you know if like for those studies, are they using something like fMRI, or would that even be possible if you're making an adjustment because you have to move the patient with that
Hmm.
with a device? I don't even know if you could do that. Do you know what kind of like how they're gathering that data, or
I can't quite remember. If I
that's
had the
okay.
research in front of me, I'd be able to look at it. But I can't. Yeah, I can't remember how exactly they measure because that
Mhm.
would be difficult. They might have done it afterwards, but I can't quite remember at the moment.
Yeah, like a before and after scan of some sort.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so again, I'm kind of drawn back to like I said, my math professor, thinking about her like strong faith, and then her, you know, she has a PhD in math and teaches math. So I went to a school that was historically Baptist, and then is no longer affiliated with a denomination anymore. Um, but I know that a lot of my professors had some kind of faith or spiritual practice. So I'm kind of curious, like, at least to me, it seems like that's pretty important to you. So, how do you feel like, I assume you have a faith-based practice. So how do you affect that, feel like that affects your clientele or your relationships with your clients?
I think it really encourages them.
Hmm.
Hmm. Uh, the faith. I think it's important, especially in a place of healing, to have God lead it. Um, and it really, especially when people are at really low lows, it reminds them that there is a higher power that cares,
Hmm.
and that he's behind the healing.
Hmm. So you feel like, do you mostly get, I'll assume you go to church, maybe you don't, but do you get like referrals from church, or like where do your clients come from?
Uh, they they come from various places. I don't. I'm kind of. I don't really. They. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm trying to share without like being too specific because I don't
Right, I
want to
know.
cross that line or anything.
Right.
But
And it's like
we
I kind of curious if like you have any stories you could share. And I know there's that line where it's like you can only say so much.
yeah, and I'm not too certain of that line, so I prefer
Yeah.
staying away from it.
Right. Play it safe. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you're a professional. That's what you do. So
Mhm.
no big deal. Um, before we started recording, I was asking you a little bit about were you doing triathlon, or were you getting back into running? And I think you were telling me a little bit about maybe coming back into working out a little bit more now.
Oh yeah. So as of now, I've been running a little bit more regularly, which is wonderful and exciting.
Hmm.
And my husband and I are looking at doing a 50K, possibly a 50K trail race in November.
Okay. So this is something I like. You have a history in running, so I won't be quite as hard on you. But I'm always like a little wary whenever we get. Anyone wants to go from like couch to marathon, or in this
Mm-hmm.
case, like couch to 50K. Like you can get back to what you were doing quicker than somebody that's never done it before. But like, are you anticipating any problems? Are you gonna run, walk, or
Run
how are you
walk.
gonna?
Yep.
Okay,
Run walk. Not gonna push it.
yeah, just
Yeah,
like
we're just doing it as a long hike or something. Well, I mean, there's gonna be running, but I'm not like push it uncomfortably or anything. And if the lead up to it, um, there's no pressure to do it. So if I'm like, oh my gosh, that those aspirations are way too high, then I'll terminate.
or
No attachment.
you can always go and then just you get to an aid station, you just like stop, you have a picnic. I mean, got your husband with you, so you can just
Yeah.
like hang out, like let's eat some bananas, and then
Yeah.
hang out for a while. Then continue on your way forward.
Yeah.
I'm always concerned for people that are going to jump into like a big distance relatively quickly,
Yeah.
um, for injury reasons.
Yeah.
That buildup
Definitely.
takes a little while.
Hmm.
So, uh, one question I ask everybody, and you're not working out as much now, so it's not necessarily super recent, but I like to ask everybody if you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life for recovery, what would that be?
If I could only eat one thing for the rest of my life for recovery. Huh.
Make sure this is
Um,
Gloria approved because she.
Gloria probably said pizza.
I'm trying to remember what she said.
Um, but so for recovery,
hmm So you just completed your 50K. You're completely exhausted. You need fuel. You need to get your muscles back in shape because you just tore them all up. So you're gonna need something protein wise, possibly. What's your go-to item?
oh my gosh, that's a tough question because I really like Brussels sprouts, but I know Brussels sprouts after a 50K would probably not be good.
That's probably Gloria approved. She seems to put Brussels sprouts in various recipes for us.
Oh, nice. Um, I, gosh, I don't know. Like after probably like a smoothie of some sort. But I don't really eat smoothies. But after a 50K, that would probably be good.
Okay.
I don't think I had a really good answer.
That's okay. Everybody's a little bit different. We have
Uh,
anything from like actual like recovery products made by a company to like my interview with this guy earlier in the week, Chris Douglas. He was gonna
yeah.
go eat tacos.
Yeah,
So
in reality, I'll probably eat like a burrito or something. But
see,
everyday food, probably Brussels sprouts and wheatgrass juice powder.
that's a perfectly good answer. Okay, Rebecca, if people want to follow you, find you, get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Um, Facebook or my website.
And your website is
Aldridgechiro.com. So
okay.
Alderdgechiro.
All right, I'll have that up on the screen so that
Okay,
anybody
cool.
watching can see that. Thanks for
So
coming
just,
on today.
yeah, thank you.